Hello.
Kurumjari Namaste everyone. My name is Licypriya Kangujam. I am 14 years old Indian climate activist and the founder of the Child Movement. I'm also the special envoy for the President of Timor-Leste. And I'm happy to share with you all that I'm the youngest diplomat in the history of the world to be officially working in a government. I'm studying in grade 8 at Ryan International School, Noida Extension, and I'm fighting to save our planet and our future. First of all, what I would like to say is thank you, thank you NIT, for having me here in Kashmir, in Srinagar. It's such a wonderful, beautiful place, I must say. Although I'm 14, my journey started when I was much younger. Long after I was born, the world already knew that climate change was dangerous. Even when I was born, the concentration of the greenhouse gases were 390 parts per million. Even today, it has crossed over 450 parts per million. You see, as a child, when I was at the age of 6 years, I was more scared than 16-year-olds. And 16-year-olds are more scared than 26 years olds. This is because the younger we are, the less chance we have to be a part of the decision making. And because we, the young generations, are going to go through the climate crisis way more longer than the older generations. People often ask me that, why do you speak so strongly at such a young age? The answer is simple. Climate change isn't waiting for me to grow up. I repeat, climate change isn't waiting for me to grow up. I come from a region where floods, droughts, heat waves, cyclones, locusts, air pollution, forest fire, etc. are a part of life. I didn't read about the climate change, the climate crisis in the textbooks. I saw it. मैंने अपने आप देखा था मेरे आँखों से as a young child, as a young toddler. How children were dying. How children were losing their parents, how innocent people were losing their lives. How farmers, their farmlands, ये सब कुछ destroy हो रहा था. I saw it from my very own two eyes. And that struck me so hard that I felt the urge. I felt the urge to do something. I felt the urge to speak up. फिर उसके बाद क्या हुआ था? At the age of 7 years old, I started protesting in front of the Parliament House every single week to demand for action on climate change by our governments and the leaders. बहुत लोग पूछते हैं मुझे, many people ask me that, ये बच्ची ऐसा क्यों कर रही है? Why is a child doing this? But the real question is, असली question होना चाहिए कि why are children like me forced to fight for our very survival that the adults should be protecting? Isn't that right? The real question is, why is my generation being forced to fight for the very survival of our own that the adults should be protecting? You see, I was born in Manipur, which is a small, beautiful northeastern state of India, bordering Myanmar. But I grew up in Bhubaneswar, Odisha for my schooling reasons. my life was struck by Cyclone Titli in 2018, and then later Cyclone Fani in 2019. During those two cyclones, I saw all its devastating, destructive impacts. And as a young child, I couldn't sleep, I couldn't take my food, I couldn't even drink water. And then later, I moved to Delhi in 2019. And yet again, I faced the intense heat waves and the high air pollution level that you all must be knowing about in Delhi. So you see, all such environmental issues that I faced at such a young age turned me into a child environmentalist, child climate activist. In July 2018, at the age of 6 years old, I got a chance to attend the United Nations Disaster Conference in Mongolia. It was a life-changing event for me. I met several world leaders, experts, scientists, policymakers there. And then they inspired me so much that after coming back from Mongolia in July 2018, it made me start my own organization, my own movement called the Child Movement, और हम कह सकते हैं उन्हें बचपन आंदोलन in Hindi. तो क्या Child Movement कर दिया? Child Movement is a children movement, or you can call it as a people movement for climate justice. Climate justice. This movement, Child Movement, calls out our world leaders, the governments, to take the immediate urgent climate action now. You see, I've always had three main demands to our leaders and the government to change the system. First, my first demand is for the government to pass a climate change law as soon as possible in the parliament. If they do so, then it would help us to control the greenhouse and the carbon emissions. Second is for our governments to include climate education as a mandatory subject in every school education curriculum. If our government do so, then it would help us to fight the climate crisis, the global climate crisis that we're facing today from a very young age, from the grassroots levels. Isn't it? And yeah, it will also teach our world leaders by their own children and grandchildren about the real facts that हम climate change को face कर रहे हैं. And then third, the last but not the least demand is for every student in India, including you guys, to plant minimum 10 trees every year. You see, हमारे इंडिया में, हमारे देश इंडिया, भारत में 350 million students हैं. अगर ये 350 million students will plant minimum 10 trees every year, then we would plant around 3.5 billion trees. So you can imagine, आप imagine कर सकते हो कि हमारा इंडिया कितना green होगा after 5-10 years if we continuously keep planting these 10 trees every year. So should we start planting trees? That's the spirit. You see millions of children like me are losing their lives, losing their parents and their homes due to climate disasters. Yet our leaders, yet our governments still treat climate change as someone else's problem, or a problem for another time, another government, another generation. But to my generation, this is not politics. This is our very own survival. Climate change is one of the biggest emergencies of our time. And emergencies need action. It needs action. Our governments, they say they are doing their best. But I would like to ask them, क्या heat waves अपनी best कर रही है? Are cyclones doing their best? Are flash floods doing their best? Are air pollution doing their best? अगर climate change हमारे लिए wait नहीं कर रही, तो हम क्यों कर रहे हैं? Do you get it? If the climate change isn't waiting for us, so why are we? हम कहाँ पे रह रहे हैं? Where do we live? Where do we live, audience? We don't live in Mars, we don't live in Moon, we don't live in Saturn. We live in our one and only planet. अर्थ, अगर ये धरती नहीं रहेगी, हम कहाँ पे जिएंगे? हम कहाँ पे जिएंगे? Where would we survive? I'm talking about now, by the way. So if we don't respect our mother nature with love, with care, then it would give us the biggest consequences that we can never imagine. So the message, the point that I'm bringing to this is that ये बस गवर्नमेंट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज नहीं है, ये बस साइंटिस्ट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटीज नहीं है, एक्सपर्ट्स की नहीं है, ये हमारी कलेक्टिव रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होनी चाहिए. So at the end, it all concludes with the coalitions, right? That we must take the collective responsibility. We must unite, we must work together in order to save our planet in time. Otherwise, it might be too late. Our governments must work together to manage a just transition away from coal, oil and gas, the top causes of today's global climate crisis. People who are present here today in this very hall, the young people, you must hold the lawmakers accountable for their political decisions. You see, there is no value for expensive art, luxurious car, a beautiful home, or a lot of money on a dead planet. I have a dream. I have a dream where there are no coal power plants and thermal power plants, and is replaced by the clean renewable energies. I have a dream where there are more bicycles on roads instead of more fossil fuel vehicles. I have a dream where every child living in this world have the access to clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean planet to live. And you see, asking clean air to breathe, clean water to drink, and clean planet to live is all our basic rights. Climate change problem is not only for me or for you or for someone else. Climate change problem is for each and every person living in this world. Each and every child living in this country, living in this world, are already the victims of today's global climate crisis. That's why I would like to say we must act now. We must take the immediate climate action now. I have a good news for everyone that Delhi University, DU, makes compulsory for every student there to plant minimum 1 tree every year to pass their final examination. After my request. So maybe the NIT of Srinagar could also implement such kind of initiatives, you know. Agar aap ek tree nahi ugaoge at the end of the year, then aap examinations ko pass nahi karoge, hai na? So we can implement such kinds of initiative, right? And yeah, I'm also happy to share with you that climate education. I received letters from the Rajasthan and Gujarat government that they are going to include climate education as a mandatory subject in their school education curriculum. So from 0 to over 150,000 schools are now going to study climate education as a mandatory subject in their school education curriculum. And moving on, when I talked about air pollution, you see, I spent a night in front of the President House of India to enact a new law to curb the Delhi's high air pollution level. It was on 15th of October 2020. On 18th of October 2020, I was detained by the Delhi police because obviously protest karna to allowed nahi and it's very strict, you know. And then later, after several weeks passed, on 28th of October 2020, the President of India signed an ordinance to curb the Delhi's high air pollution level. But dekho, it wasn't just the achievement of just me, but several other Indian activists as well. But what I would like to say in this part is that law ban gaya about the air pollution. It was in 2020, 5 years back. It's 2025 now. Can you see change? Can you see change? Is there betterment in the environment's condition? क्या air pollution ठीक हो गया है? In Delhi or here or in any other parts of India? No. It has gotten only worse since then. So my point is, law banaya, but it's a big achievement, I must say. But action kaha hai? अगर law बनाते हो, what's the point of making that law अगर action नहीं कर रहे हो? अगर outcome ही नहीं आ रही है? अगर आप अपने आप को government कहते हो, then act like one, you know? Do the responsibility like a government. And you know, I feel that a child like me, a teen like me, shouldn't be reminding here again and again about the responsibilities of adults, about the responsibilities of the government, right? But here we are, you know, because you see, we are never too young to speak up, right, about this issue. And I felt the urge because agar ye log nahi kar rahe, then I have to speak up at any cost for the justice, for the sakes of these millions of poor, vulnerable children and people. And moving on, do you guys know about the Taj Mahal? One of the 7 wonders of the world. You guys know, right? Yes. I went to visit there in July 2022 with my family, just like any normal person would. When I did, I was shocked. I was shocked to see the piles of garbage surrounding the Taj Mahal. The piles of plastic pollution surrounding this, one of the 7 wonders of the world, this great monument. I was shocked. And what I did next is that I took a placard, I took a poster, and then I wrote, "Behind the beauty of Taj Mahal is plastic pollution." The picture gone viral in the social media. And within 24 hours, within the next day, all the plastic pollution was cleaned around the Taj Mahal. Even the authority was also fined ₹1 lakh, and now Taj Mahal has transformed into a single-use plastic-free monument. So in this part, what I would like to say is that social media, ever since I started my journey, I use social media as a very powerful tool to raise my voice. So maybe you guys can use social media for whatever works that you're doing as well. And yeah, you see 3 years back, in 2022, I started my own initiative, my own project called the Plastic Money Shop. So Plastic Money Shop क्या करती है कि it is kind of like a barter system. You guys give in this single-use plastic, the waste to us, to me, and then in return you can take either from these 3 options. A 2 kg free rice, a plant sapling, or a stationary item. So yeah, it is kind of like a barter system, isn't it? So the mission of this project is to eliminate every single-use plastic on our planet. It also stops single-use plastic waste from reaching our oceans, rivers, seas, landfills, etc. And you know what we do after collecting all those single-use plastic waste from several people, students and children? We recycle them, or you can say we upcycle them into school benches, house door sheets, road tiles, etc. And we have collected over 400 tons of the single-use plastic waste. You see, the thing is, if such an project initiative is implemented, even maybe in NIT or other various parts that you know, then you can imagine the even more larger impact that it can have if it's done in a larger scale. And while we're doing this initiative, it also raises the awareness about the global plastic pollution crisis, है ना? कि कैसे इतनी बड़ी problem हो गई है हमारे दुनिया में. So yeah, these are some of the changes brought by just a 14 years old girl child. Change. What do you guys think about change? The best gift parents can give to their children is not a beautiful house, expensive car, or a lot of money. The best gift parents can give to their children is a beautiful green planet. And to give this planet we must change ourselves. I always say that the first step to saving our planet is to change our behavior. Because ये जो भी हो रहा है हमारे behavior के कारण से है ना? If you can change your family, then you can change your neighborhood. If you can change your neighborhood, then you can change your community. If you can change your community, then you can change your state. अगर आप अपने state को change कर सकते हो, then you can change your country. And if you can change your country, then you can change the whole world. Change means empowerment. Empowerment means independence. And independence means freedom. A lot of people talk about freedom. But क्या है real आज़ादी? What is freedom? Freedom is when you can read and write. Freedom is when you're out of hunger. Freedom is when no one can discriminate you on the basis of caste, creed, color, gender, or any other discrimination. Freedom is when parents can protect their children's future, culture, and health. Freedom is when you can protect your land and environment. And freedom is when we are all together in this fight. So shall we fight for our freedom? Shall we fight for the sake of our planet? Should we? So let us take that collective responsibility in and act now. देखो ये मैं कह रही हूँ आज because there might be no next tomorrow. There might be no next future for us. I'm representing here the voice of the millions of children and people across the world. Courage. लोग courage के बारे में बात करते हैं. But courage isn't the absence of fear. Courage is when you feel to do the right thing even when you are scared. So let us have that willpower. Let us have that courage within us all and speak up for the right thing. I will fight until my last breath. We are unstoppable, another world is possible, and change is possible. We will not allow history to be written by big polluters and greedy politicians who choose profit over our own planet. My generation is already the victims of today's global climate crisis. The future generations will face even more worse consequences because of the empty false promises. So let us take the immediate climate action now. Thank you.